Hello, I hope you're well. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is my May TBR, and this is actually the first time that I'm sitting down after hitting the 500 subscriber mark, which is unreal to me. There are so many new people here, so hello, welcome. I hope you stick around. I am still floored that Olive, this booktuber that I admire, mentioned me in a video and that so many of you came from her channel to mine. Thank you, Olive, for all your faith in me. I hope I can live up to what you said about me in your video, and also a sincere thank you to any of my subscribers. And please leave comments in the comment section because I love getting to know you all that way. So again, I'm just still floored. I am still taking time to process everything, but I just wanted to extend a sincere thank you and welcome you all properly. But now we're going to talk about books. So for May, I'm participating in the May the Force Read With You Readathon, which is hosted by Noelle, Chris, Steph, and Max, and it is a Star Wars themed readathon. But you don't need to know anything about Star Wars to participate, which is me, to a T, because I haven't even watched a single Star Wars movie, although I thirst for Harrison Ford something awful. But you essentially pick a team, light side, dark side, or there's neutral as well, and by reading a book that completes each of the challenges, you go up in rank. So I'm on the light side and have some books for that, and I also have just a few miscellaneous books that I'd like to get to as well. So why don't we dive right in? The first prompt is Jedi Council to read a book that is a sequel or a book in a series, and I've selected Voyager by Diana Gabaldon, which is book 3 in the Outlander series, partly because one of my reading goals for 2021 is to read all of the books in the series. Currently 8 are published, but the 9th is coming out in November, so I have roughly 7 months in which to read the remainder of the series, so I definitely need to get a move on with this one. In this, we find out that Jamie somehow managed to survive the Battle of Culloden, and Claire figures that out too and needs to decide between staying in her present time with her and Jamie's grown daughter or going back to Jamie in the past. So I'm currently vlogging my journey through each of these books, so stay tuned for that. But I'm just having a lot of fun with Claire and Jamie and all of their antics. So despite the fact that this book is over 1,000 pages long, I'm ready for it. So the next prompt was Force Spirit, which is to read a book with paranormal elements. And let me tell you, there might have been a little hyperventilation going on because I don't read much paranormal anything. I could literally think of the 4 books that could be contenders for this that I own, but none of them were calling to me, so I sent an SOS to my friend Liz, and she actually recommended Things in Jars by Jess Kidd, which, the way she described it, I think I can get behind this one. So she described it to me as being a Victorian lady detective who sees ghosts, and the ghosts help her to solve crimes. And if there's any paranormal element that I am remotely interested in, it's ghosts. I watch all those ghost hunter shows, I go on ghost tours, I believe they exist. So this one spoke to me, so I may have slid it into a sneaky book order for this prompt, but I am very much looking forward to it. So for the next prompt, which is Cleansed, or a book with a white cover, I had a few books in my stack that this could have worked for, but the one that I have opted to read for it is The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton, because I want to kill a few birds with one stone. I think 4 in total, so this would obviously work for this prompt, but it's also a buddy read with Margaret from over at Margaret Pinard. It's also a 5-star prediction for me, and was on my spring TBR. So there's a lot riding on me reading this book. I really don't know all that much about it other than in 2013 it won a Man Booker Prize. I know that it's set in New Zealand during the gold rush there, and that it's about a series of unexplained events that take place, but really that's about it. I do want to read this though for all of the reasons I listed, but I also want to read this before I watch the TV show with Eva Green, so I need to get to that soon. So this is probably going to be the first book that I tackle for May, to be quite honest. For the next prompt, which is healing, to read a book from your favorite genre, I obviously had quite a bit to choose from, but the book that I ultimately selected was Libertie by Caitlin Greenidge, which I have hyped up on this channel quite a bit. It was one of my anticipated releases in Q1. It was a book in a recent book haul of mine, and I really just want to get to this because I'm seeing it everywhere and it continues to sound really amazing to me. The main character is living during the Reconstruction era in the North. She is a freeborn black woman, and her mother wants her to go into medicine with her and practice alongside her. And this is a character who has different ideas and ends up marrying a Haitian and moving to Haiti. And so it's supposed to be a coming of age story in this setting, and I'm here for it. I'm really interested and would love to get to this ASAP Rocky. So for the last of the prompts that will get you a rank, knowledge, is to read one of the oldest books on your shelf or TBR, and I felt like I needed to inject some nonfiction into this TBR, so I selected Flaneuse by Lauren Elkin, which is a nonfiction book that I have had on my shelf for several years at this point and just never gotten around to. So it's part memoir, part like a social history type of thing, looking at the female Flaneuse, or these like dawdling observer, these women walking these metropolitan cities of Paris, New York, Tokyo, Venice, and London. I don't really know much more than that, but I was always intrigued by the cover and the description of it being like gender bending, so I would also like to read this in May. So those books, as I mentioned, those 5, are the ones that can get you a rank, but there are also 2 prompts on the light side that can earn you companions, and I have possibilities for these if I get to the 5 books that I just talked about. So for the Rebel Alliance prompt, which is to read a book with the rebellion, I went very literal, and I chose The Rebel Nun by Marj, which was a book in that same recent haul that I talked about. Like literally I've had this for maybe a couple weeks at this point, but I am really intrigued and really want to get to this one. So it's set in the Middle Ages, and it's based on a true story where this nun leads a rebellion against the patriarchy and the church, essentially, and I'm fascinated because this sounds like a lot of feminist energy that I love. It's also in a time period that I don't read all that much about currently, so it felt like it would be a little bit different, but that's what I hope to read for that prompt. So for the last prompt, which is resistant, to read a book from your least favorite genre, I kind of went very broad here because I don't own a lot of books in genres that I don't enjoy, but as far as like speculative fiction, I had a couple, and so I selected The Power by Naomi Alderman, which is a book that the same friend Liz recommended to me and has also been on my TBR for woefully too long, according to Liz, but it is speculative fiction. I think it's something that has been compared to Margaret Atwood. I really don't know all that much about it, other than I think the women in this book have some sort of power that can like injure and take lives. Again, I think this is something that's going to have a very feminist lean to it, which might make it a book that I enjoy, but speculative fiction and we don't always see eye to eye, so I'll be interested to see how I respond to this one as well. So those are the books that I want to read for the readathon, but as I mentioned, there are a few other books that I want to get to this month as well. The first of which is Interiors Chinatown by Charles Wu. So this is actually a book for the work book club that I lead, and there's currently a poll up with 3 other alternatives, but this is the one that's in the lead, so I have a feeling that this is the one that we're going to end up reading. I believe that the book is written like a screenplay, which if it is an interesting formatting choice, and I'm kind of here for it. But the book is a satire essentially on racism in Hollywood. The main character wants to be the kung fu man and has to do all these really stereotypical bit parts in order to work his way up to that. So I'm very interested. We're choosing books written by Asian American or Pacific Islanders because May is AAPI month. So this seemed like it would be really, really interesting. The next book that I would like to read in May is The Deep Blue Sea by Terrence Rattigan, which is actually a play, and I want to read this for a number of reasons. The first of which is I got bitten by the play bug last month. I read the first play in a while for me and just don't want to stop. The other reason is that I kind of want to read this in honor of Helen McCurry, who is pictured on the cover. She was in the National Theatre production of this in 2016. I watched her in it on National Theatre's like YouTube channel, which isn't the same thing as seeing it live, but I was floored by her performance and just really wanted to get to know this play a little bit better. So it's set after World War II, and it starts off with the main character who has attempted suicide and is really sort of the story of this failed and very tumultuous affair. So it's very raw, very interesting, really fascinating take on post-World War II like society as well. So it's not long. Plays don't tend to be. I think I can probably read this in a sitting if I so choose. But yeah, definitely want to try to read that in May in honor of this talented actress who was taken from us far too soon. And the last book that I'm hoping to get to is one that is being sent to me as an advanced reader copy. So thank you to the publisher and the book PR company. It's The Accidental Suffragist by Galia Gichon, whose name I am probably mispronouncing. I apologize. But this book is historical fiction, and it's about this factory worker who ends up kind of being seduced by the suffragette movement in the early 20th century, and it's a book that chronicles kind of World War I and the final ratification of the 19th Amendment, which gives women the right to vote in the United States, and I am really intrigued by this. In March, I read a book that was all about the ratification of the 19th Amendment, so I feel like this is almost meant to be and will be a really nice pairing. But since the book comes out in June, I would really love to read it before then and share my thoughts with you. But yeah, this one is one that I am very much looking forward to. So those are the books that I want to read for May, for the readathon, and just in general. It's 10 books, and there are 2 really hefty ones in the mix, so we'll see how well I do at the end of the month, but I'm genuinely excited for all of them. Do any of these books tickle your fancy? Certainly let me know in the comments, and let me know if there are any books that you're excited to read in May. I'm always looking for recommendations, but thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to give it thumbs up, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!